Great stuff. Okay, good morning, Year 9, Year 10 and Year 12, I believe as well. This is one of our career snippets, so you guys know what the drill is now. We either get people in the flesh or online to kind of talk to you about the myriad different careers and kind of routes out into the big wide world that you might be able to follow when you disappear from Sarum. This morning, I am really pleased to welcome both Shelby and Arwen from the Department for Business and Trade. And they're going to talk a little bit about sort of some of the apprenticeship opportunities that they've got available and kind of working within the civil service, which is, for those of you who don't know, is basically the organisation that sets up, supports ministers, supports the running of government and specifically the departments that are there. So without further ado, over to Arwen and Shelby. Thank you for joining us this morning.
No worries. Have you got the presentation, Shelby, or shall I share it?
Let me try and get it up 2 seconds.
I'm also happy to share if that's easier for you both. I can pretend to be, I can't remember, was it Professor Whitty who did the next slide, please, basically, whenever government ministers were kind of during the pandemic.
I think I've got it. It should just be loading. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we're all good.
I can see it now. Cool, perfect. All right, hi everyone, I'm Arwen. I'm from the Department for Transport, and as it sounds, I work on transport, so things like rail, road vehicles, and also things like ships as well. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my apprenticeship and how I got here. Just so you guys know, I'm 19. I actually just finished college last year, so fresh out of school, so I know exactly what it's like to be in your position. And I think that apprenticeships are a really important tool for you guys to get into the workplace. So if we go for, has that changed the slide for everyone?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so what I'm part of is the Government Economic Service degree apprenticeship programme, and that is a bit of a mouthful. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about each component of it as we go through. So, government economics, what is this? So this spans a whole range of different things, and you'll probably see it a lot in the news. So in the top left there, we've got the cost of living crisis, which people may have heard of. Inflation is a big part of what economists look at. We look at prices of different goods and services and when they're going up and going down and what effects that has on people. We also have COVID. So during COVID, economists were really important because lots of businesses shut down, lots of jobs got, could have been laid off, and something that economists and politicians worked on was the furlough scheme. So paying people during COVID in order to give them an income, even though that their jobs and their businesses were shut. So that's something that economists would have worked on. And then we also have fast fashion on that top row there. So that's something that's really sort of a moral debate and a topic of economics as well. So people, it's all about consumption, people consuming too many goods and services that need to be cheaply outsourced and people not getting the income that they need. We've also got a few bits there about HGV drivers. So that's something that I specifically work on. So I work on lorry policy, essentially. So during the time of Brexit, where Britain left the EU, a lot of lorry drivers left. And that was really bad because the problem was we need to obviously deliver our fuel, our groceries, our online shopping. And so, when all the lorry drivers left, that was really a problem. So us economists worked on, okay, what does the shortage look like and how can we solve that issue? And on the bottom row there as well, we've got fuel shortages, which was something that came from the lack of lorry drivers partially. And then we've also got global warming, carbon emissions, and economists look a lot into how can we solve this problem of climate change as well. So what does a typical day look like for me? Typical tasks include working with Excel on cost benefit analysis. So this is essentially saying if government were to introduce a new measure, for example, bringing in more lorry drivers, what are the good things about that? What are the bad things about that? And trying to get a monetary value of how good or bad that policy might be for people. And so I do a lot of work with Excel. Economics is all about analysis and a little bit about maths, a little bit about, critical thinking, that sort of stuff. I also write up this analysis to send to ministers, and that's a really important job because they need to know, what's going on, what this policy is going to do, so they can make good decisions for the government and for us as people in society. I have a lot of Teams meetings to discuss the work. I have some lovely policy colleagues who help me along with this as well, and just responding to emails, admin-y stuff like that. But there are some much more interesting and cooler bits about the job. So this year I was lucky enough to be able to go to Zurich to talk all about emissions from diesel vehicles. So talking about that climate change element, which was absolutely amazing. I got to go with my team, who are absolutely lovely, and it's really, really cool. Frequent trips to London, so we do trainings and meetings in London, and obviously that's always interesting as someone who lives in the countryside. So yeah, I do outreach like today. I love talking about this because I think it's a really important way in. I present my work at conferences as well, and I've also visited the Houses of Parliament, so it's been really like interesting and exciting, and I've been lucky enough to have so many opportunities because of the apprenticeship. So this slide is talking about the degree part of the apprenticeship. So I'm working towards a university degree in economics at the moment. So here's some photos of me and my friends on the programme. And this is a degree given by the University of Kent. I'm going to be doing the apprenticeship for 4 years compared to 3 years, which is a normal university degree. It's all paid for by the Department for Transport. So I have no student debt, unlike some people that would have student debt. And I also get paid for my work as well. So I'm earning and learning and don't have to worry about the debt. I get every Friday off from work to study. So I work for 4 days as an economist, and then I study for my degree on a Friday, and that's all online. All my lectures are online. 1 residential week per year to the university, in-person study days, and online assessments. I'm just going to bring up this slide just to say that you do not have to just be an economist. There are so many different apprenticeship roles in the department that are going to suit anyone's needs. So it's really important that you don't take this away that there's only economists and you're only going to do maths, because that's not the case. There's law, policy, statistics, communications, people that like computing, digital, all that sort of stuff. So yeah. And I just want to put it out there that there can be some stigma around apprenticeships, that they're not as good as university. And I just don't think this is the case. I think that apprenticeships are such a good route for people, young people like you guys, who want to learn on the job and get paid. And it's allowed me to travel and stay at home with my family, which is really important to me, and pursue my passion of helping people through economics. My team are really lovely and support me in my job and to develop my career, and I've got some really great friends from it. And of course, if you want to leave after the apprenticeship, you've got work experience, which sets you apart from people that have gone to university. So I really think it's a win-win situation. I'll hand over to Shelby now to talk a bit about her programme and the Department for Business and Trade.
Perfect. Thanks, Arwen. We thought it would be really interesting to talk to you sort of from two different sides of the civil service. So I work in the Department for Business and Trade. I'm a little bit older than Arwen, so I've been to university, done a master's, and now I'm here on their civil service fast stream. So this is a graduate leadership program into the civil service, which normally you can join through after you do a degree at university, any degree that you want to do, or you can join it just from a standard job in the civil service. So you could come straight out of school, grab any job in the civil service, and then apply to be on the fast stream. So there's a few different entry routes, and the benefits of the fast stream are that it's generally a 3 or 4 year sort of accelerated development program to a slightly sort of higher level manager. But like Arwen's sort of apprenticeship, it just excels your learning through the civil service while you're working. And there are opportunities to get sort of other learning opportunities through the civil service. So I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about a typical day in my life, sort of being business and trade, which is a little bit different from Arwen's. So I work in policy, which essentially means I work across the department to solve different problems that come in. The best way I think to describe working in policy is solving problems, sort of a problem with the public, working sort of to match budgets, to match sort of trading goals. Policy teams work with teams across the department to do that. I quite often meet with international colleagues, which I find really interesting. So I talk to sort of the Americans quite a lot, Australians, sort of anywhere we have trading relationships, we'll have regular meetings with them. And then a bit like Arwen, we write policy papers to explain decisions to ministers, which is sort of part and parcel of being in policy and trade. But there are more exciting parts of my job. So I have been to Geneva recently to visit the World Trade Organization, which was really interesting. That was a 5-day trip, and that is quite widely available sort of within international trade roles. We quite often talk to ministers, which might sound a little bit boring, but it's actually more interesting than you think. They often have really like interests in pointed areas, so definitely worth looking into. And then of course I do some outreach work like Arwen does, so I come and talk to schools like yourself, which I find really rewarding and hopefully makes the civil service seem a little bit more relatable than just being the massive beast that the civil service is. So I can quickly run you through some of the roles that we have in the department. Policy sort of that I'm in, contract management. So if you like sort of face-to-face talking with people, this is a really good area. You work with businesses and suppliers and sort of manage those relationships. There's financial roles, marketing and communications, human resources, which again, if you like sort of organization and sort of getting to the root of problems is a really good area. There's digital roles, project management and event delivery. So I think that was a very whistle stop tour through what kind of roles there are in business and trade. I know we don't have a huge amount of time, but also really happy to take any questions on any of those topics. But I think, Gareth, that probably brings us to the end of our presentation. Hopefully that's on time for you.
Yeah, that is absolutely perfect. And we've got plenty of time to kind of wrap up. I know that when we do these presentations beforehand, or when we've done them before, that actually sometimes questions aren't kind of swift coming through. So I think sometimes we get things posted up in the chat. I've not seen anything today, but if there are any further questions, I think what I will do, if it's okay with you, Shelby and Arwen, is I'm going to send them directly to you and give you the opportunity to come back to the tutor group that's kind of raised those particular queries. Just out of curiosity, did you both have a plan to kind of join the civil service? What was your kind of, when you were thinking about careers when you were younger, was this on your radar? How did you kind of become aware of the roles and jobs?
Do you want me to jump in quickly, Alan? So when I was at sixth form, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, apart from I knew I liked politics and I liked a bit of sort of social sciences. So I sort of followed my nose with that one, went to university, did a politics and philosophy degree, and then I did my master's in international relations, and then it sort of opened loads of doors. So I would just try and do something you're really interested in and try and find out about sort of schemes like this as early as you can.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you, Shelby. I think at this stage we are going to need to kind of wrap up as everybody's heading off for period one. Can I just say a massive thanks for coming along today and kind of giving us a little bit of a window into the civil service and the two different routes that you guys have taken. Really grateful for your time this morning. Year 9s and 10s, I hope you found that useful, and sixth form as well. If you do have any questions, if you could reach out to your tutors, they'll pass it on to me. I'll make sure it gets through to Shelby and Arwen. Otherwise, everybody, please have yourselves a beautiful Tuesday. Thanks so much, folks. Take care.